Aloha, friends. Shit. Aloha, friends, and welcome to another episode. I am your host, Badbeard, and today we will be talking with Peter Lee Thomas. We talked about a ton of stuff. We talked about fighting, Muay Thai, boxing, jiu-jitsu, and him also jumping back to the Mike Tyson training camp for the upcoming Jake Paul fight. He's a great dude, incredible actor, and wonderful trainer, so I hope you enjoy. And just like that, we're recording. Is it doing it correctly? Yeah. So the first 15 episodes, I believe this to be episode 16, I was on a different setup. These are Fuji cameras.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a friend of mine at Fuji set me up with the X2S and XT4 and all that. But before that, I was on Black Magic, which you might be familiar with. And so one of the pitfalls that you have to learn about is with these cameras, they also have 30 minutes.
Oh.
And so the conversation's so good.
Yeah, you have to.
Well, and so then you end up with this controller and all these switchers and one thing into another. But as it stands, I think it's gonna go well.
It's the Japanese efficiency. They're like 30 minutes. Boom.
Yeah.
You're done.
I have a list of questions. I actually have no questions, and that's been the fun part about the show too. Is I learn kind of how my flow is.
Yeah.
We've had the fortune of now knowing each other for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And then equally, I know your background. But I'm learning more. And so that's generally the way the show goes, is I just learn more about you. And all the things that I already know about are generally things that I'm interested in. And so that kind of just dictates what we talk about.
Sure.
So we'll talk about fighting.
Yeah.
We'll talk about training. We'll talk about what we work together on.
Yep.
And then back home.
Perfect.
And that usually runs, it can be 20 minutes. It could be, 2 hours. But today we have a hard out at 5.
Yeah.
So with that, why don't you go ahead introduce yourself? This is your camera right here. This is our wide guy.
Straight on. Gotcha.
So who are you, man?
My name is Peter Lee Thomas. I am from California, born and raised there just about. I'm actually from Chicago. Moved to California when I was about 7 years old, and I'm a California kid. Been there ever since. So,
Where did you land in California when you first got there?
Orange County.
Orange County.
Yeah.
Where you are now?
I'm in Huntington Beach area, Seal Beach area, so I'm out that way, just past Long Beach.
Yeah.
I was in LA for over 20 years, and it just got a little wild for me and my family, so I decided to...
You were in the Valley?
I was in West Hollywood.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah. It just got a little loud. It was just a lot of noise, a lot of static noise that I just kind of wanted to tune out, and... I'm much happier in Orange County. Yeah, it's just kind of a more surfer town. Everybody's just really polite. I'm waved to like every 5 seconds while I'm driving out of my little housing tract. And LA can be kind of interesting and strange all at the same time. So, like, now that I have a kid, I'm like, I kind of want to go outside of the city and do what most people do.
Still close to the beach?
Yeah, it's close to the beach. 5 minutes bike ride.
Oh, nice.
So we're very happy, very blessed to be kind of where I was raised. I wanted to see, a place where my daughter can grow up and not have to worry about all the other stuff that comes with living in a big city. Mm-hmm. And I want her to skate and surf, kind of like I did growing up. So we're in the perfect spot.
When I met your lovely lady and then equally your daughter, are there more children on the horizon, or is it just done?
The idea is great, man, but yeah, I think we're happy with just one at the moment, and we're going to just take it from there. We can have multiple dogs, and my daughter can have all the friends sleepovers she wants, but as far as having another one, my wife had a very tumultuous pregnancy, 36-hour labor, all the things that could go wrong went wrong, so we were told it's probably in our best interest to just have one right now, in case the second and third and so on becomes more of a challenge. So yeah, we're probably going to just cut it close to the dog thing and having as many friends as possible, for my daughter.
Well, and you travel a lot for work now too.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. So we're based there, you're doing work there, but that keeps you also on the road?
Yeah. Lately, especially just during the whole COVID thing, I've seemed to find myself traveling more now than ever before, which is kind of interesting because you'd think that being from Orange County and living there, you think that you wouldn't have that type of lifestyle when it comes to especially working in the film industry. Although I recently discovered a lot of stunt coordinators and a lot of second unit directors and even people that are, producers live in Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
I've since realized that. Even some of the John Wick guys are down in Orange County, which is kind of interesting. To get to 8711, which is where all the John Wick training happens, Chad Stahelski's place, that is a 30-minute drive from me.
Oh,
so
perfect.
yeah, it's real close.
Yeah.
We're technically on the west side. Not to give you a long-winded answer, but where else?
It's a podcast, and
Yeah.
we take our time.
I'm like, wait a second, where did I go? Oh, look at squirrel.
Yeah.
I have a tendency to go on giant rants, but yeah, the travel situation has been kind of a blessing because as much as I love being back home, I do like to see a lot of things, and especially Atlanta. This is the first time for me here, so I've been discovering and uncovering a lot of cool places and meeting great people as yourself, and getting to reconnect with Noah again and work with him has been awesome, and meeting Alan for the first time has been great. So shout out to those guys. Love you both. Thank you for bringing me on. Yeah, it is tough. FaceTime is not really enough when you have a kid, and it's just having them fly over has been also a great thing to have them here and to kind of cheer me on while I'm doing this. But yeah, anything over a month, 2 months is treading into deep waters when it comes to having a family. So good news is you can fly them in and they can stay.
And we had great weather while they were here.
Yes, we had a couple rainy days, but for the most part, it was beautiful weather, and I couldn't have been more grateful for that. A lot of parks, Pont City Market, Piedmont Park has been our favorite. The zoo, the aquarium, and Atlanta's awesome. And more so the people here. I noticed that the people here are so kind, and that Southern hospitality is a real thing. Just before going home for the first time, I was in a kind of a sketchy part of town and went to this gas station. Your head's on a swivel. I walk up towards the cashier, and this guy with like tattoos on his face, just something out of a movie. He was a villain out of a movie. He opened the door for me, man, and he said, "Come on in, sir." And it just, everything was so, and again, you can't judge a book by its cover, because I've since realized that regardless of what the exterior looks like, it's the beauty in that, and the uncertainty in that, that you can find and meet really amazing people that have a lot to offer this world, and to especially kindness, and I think that stretches a long way, man. And it was this cool ripple effect that it created from that moment on all the way until my trip home. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man, Southern hospitality, the people here are awesome.
And man, we're happy to have you whenever you want to come.
Yeah, this will be a frequent, visit for me, and for all things considered moving forward.
Well, and specific to this trip, you were here brought on by Alan and Noah for the show Fight Night.
Yeah.
This is a Kevin Hart show about a story of Muhammad Ali. And so, assuming it's a story about Muhammad Ali, we're going to have some high-level boxing.
Yeah.
And that's where you came into the picture.
Yeah. So, it was kind of a interesting request, because I performing and being a stuntman and an actor as well, and working in action and fight design and choreography and all that kind of stuff. It's been so refreshing to be on a project that's just solely dedicated to boxing, because you got all the martial arts stuff, all the things you can embellish on. You can play all those other sports, but you can't play boxing. And people nowadays, especially the popularity in MMA and boxing and all things, they know what to look for. Even those that don't train and never put on a boxing glove before, they know what to look for.
Yeah.
And you can't fool anybody anymore. So it had to be very specific to that. And I think, my bringing me on to help consult on this when it comes to boxing has been a blessing in disguise, because I've always wanted to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And to get a person like Dexter Darden to play Muhammad Ali, who, by the way, wasn't a boxer. He's a ballet dancer, not ballet.
He could do both.
Yeah, he could probably do both. He's that talented
Yeah.
and versed. But he has a dance background. He's an actor, of course.
Yeah.
And when I met him, I thought, oh man, they're booking this guy, you know, to play Ali, one of the most prolific, uh, not only fighters but just the overall consummate artist of life. Dexter and Ali they share this common duality where they are both the consummate artists and they're able to do um, things of that altitude and be able to bring forth not only boxing but also humanity and bring through a little bit of the political agenda of the world at the time. And I think that Dexter nailed that, and he was able to just wow the producers and the showrunners and everybody on that Zoom call when he first had his little table read. He was telling me, not to get too into it, but he was telling me how, you know, even Kevin Hart was like, man, like, you know, you're doing it, you're Ali, man. And as much of a fan as I am of Ali and all boxing, there was a day in particular, in retrospect, where Dexter had the shorts on, he had the gloves on, and he was just going for it. He was just ad-libbing. And I looked at him, and knowing him at this point now for well over 2 months, you know, every day spending hours and hours of training on end, you get to really know somebody. And he had, to me, okay, the thing that really did it for me was his voice and the physicality, because the voice is the it's that deep connection that you have to oneself, and the physicality also is a direct result of that, and he had both of those things. So when I heard the voice, and it's the most intimate thing to me, when you have the voice and the physicality connects, you are that person. And I saw that for the first time.
Oh, cool.
Because, you know, in training initially, you're kind of unsure as to what this person can and can't do, so you're working out all the kinks and the speed bumps. But that day when we had that photo shoot, I saw him, and he was just, you know, larger than life, as Ali would be. I'm like, that's the guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Ali's style and presence and everything was, you know, the butterfly and the bee as it is. It's a lot to take on. So
Yes.
it was really fun to see Dexter embrace that
Yeah.
in his character. And equally, were you there the day that his mom sold him out
Yeah.
on the hot mic in front of how many people were in there? A couple hundred.
Yeah.
And she's like, Dexter never boxed before a day in his life. I didn't raise him that way. And then gave you the credit for getting him up to speed.
Oh,
but
my gosh.
I was
that
laughing.
was like my heart sank to my feet in a good way, of course.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I thought, oh my gosh,
Sweet lady.
I just met this beautiful lady, and here she is giving me some accolades
High praise.
for her son, and I'm like, oh man, you know, what do you say to that? Like, what do you, other than, you know, all heads must bow, all tongues must confess, man, that his mom is amazing, and you can tell a lot about her son when you meet him, and then you track that back to this woman, and you go, oh, this all makes sense now. It all comes full circle as to why he's such a genuine person with a heart of gold and this $1 million smile. And then you meet the mom, you go, of course, this is it, man. There's that connection. So I was very thankful and honored and humbled by all, you know, Grace when she said that to me, and that she's like, this is Peter Lee Thomas, you know, my son's never boxed before, and all because of this guy. I'm like, whoa, hold on, man, no. I'm literally just pointing the way for him, you know, and helping him out. And the thing is he was so coachable, and he has this eagerness to do it, and he has this curiosity to live in the shoes of that particular person. And it's like when he put on that robe and those shorts, you start, and at least this is just for me how I take it, not only as what I saw, but for myself. When I put on the clothes of a person, it's not me going to wardrobe, putting on, you know, whatever they give me. It's now I'm thinking about how this person talked, how they moved, what was their voice like, what were they thinking when the tailor or the person that sold them this clothes, like, I go back to that and I start from there and I build from there, especially when someone gives me a script and they're like, okay, bring this to life now, bring this fighting. And to me these days, it's not about just, you know, it's not to sound like Confucius or like Bruce Lee, but it's the art of fighting without fighting, right? And what does that scene make you feel afterwards? Not just fighting for the sake of fighting. Like, where's that moment where you walk away from that and you go, this is how I feel now. This is what the audience, from the perspective of film and TV and the camera lens, what are they going to feel as well? And that to me is interesting. And I find that fascinating moving forward with the way I would choreograph something, 10 years ago versus today. There's a lot of change that's happened because of that.
Yeah. I've been seeing that a lot with how some of these coordinators, choreographers come on, that it's less about doing this really fantastic, really cool thing. It's more about an intentional, really thought out, like, all right, well, what is the actual reasoning of this? Like, why would they throw this way? Like, whatever the combination may be into some gag or bit that, like, is actually thought in the character's reference rather than just what would look cool on camera.
Yeah.
And so I've seen that more in my time, and maybe it's always been that way, but I feel like it's been a lot more conscious in the conversation, which is really cool, and to see how you did that, because your background is not just in boxing. You wear all the hats. It's jiu-jitsu, it's Muay Thai. Where's your specialty lie?
I was blessed to train with a man named Dan Inosanto, who is Bruce Lee's, very close friend and the guy that helped perpetuate the art of Jeet Kune Do. He's the only man certified.
Jeet Kune Do?
Yeah, or in Cantonese, Jeet Kune Do, as they call it. But it is, in English, I guess the best way to translate it would be way stopping fist. So the way of the intercepting fist. And if you look at any Bruce Lee film or documentary, you'll see him very passionately talking about it. And not to get confused, it is not a style, it is a concept. It's, you have, it really, to boil it down, it's how does one express himself honestly, completely, without lying to himself? And that is, your interpretation of Jeet Kune Do will be very different than mine.
I thought it was just about punching people in the face.
Yeah.
Okay, more to that. Got it.
And obviously it has a core foundation. It has a reference point. It started with Wing Chun, a lot of different...
that's really flowy.
Right, a lot of Kung Fu styles. And Bruce Lee was way ahead of his time. He was already cross-training as an athlete. He was lifting weights. He was... watching Muhammad Ali, just religiously on those big, like old 8mm reels, and playing it in reverse and slowing it down. He was obsessed with that. And you can see that in the last movie he did, Game of Death, with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and my teacher, Dan Inosanto, was in that film as well. He's the guy with the Kali sticks that Bruce has to fight, like, I think 2 or 3 pagoda steps up. But to circle back to the question, Jeet Kune Do is, again, it's something that has to tailor fit to the individual. It's like a custom-made suit. It has to fit that person. And some people may be better at boxing, so if you're going against a wrestler, you don't want to wrestle a wrestler, you want to box a wrestler, and vice versa. If you're going against somebody that's better at boxing, you want to be a better grappler. You want to shoot in for the single or the double leg, or be better at grappling. So there's room for exploring all ways of combat, rather than punching somebody. You might not feel good about hitting some guy, and then they hit their head on the concrete, and then all of a sudden now you got a lawsuit, rather than, like, humanely, you could escort them out the door and put them to sleep real quick and then just gently set them down in the chair. And like, okay, that's maybe my approach for Jeet Kune Do these days versus when I was more of a hothead, in my early 20s. But yeah, so with that nucleus of it being the center point, the reference point of all the different arts we've cross-trained on, Muay Thai is a big part of that.
When did that come to the picture?
Muay Thai came to me initially by a guy named Yuki Hiroshi, Piston Gym Muay Thai in Westminster, California. He's a flyweight champion from Japan, little flat top, small little guy, but man, I remember looking into a Muay Thai gym for the first time then and seeing, like, these guys kick the air. They were shadow boxing. And I was like, that is the ugliest looking kick I've ever seen in my life, because they're used to, like, the karate style, the taekwondo style. It's really fast. There's beautiful retraction. These things kind of like pulled through, and they looked like they were half asleep doing it. And I thought to myself, man, that just looks wrong. And then shortly after, I saw them kick pads and kick the bat, and it was just this whack. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck? Now I understand why they were doing that. And so that was one of my first interactions with it. On camera, on cinema, it was watching Paulo Tocha in Bloodsport.
Okay.
Who I have a story about later on. I grew up watching Bloodsport every day after school, and Kickboxer and all those. Would play it on rewind, on repeat rather. And fast forward years and years and years later, he walks into my gym at the time. I had a little space that I rent out, a little Muay Thai and MMA gym. He walks in, and I turn around, and I'm like, everybody, wow, hello, this is Paulo Tocha, known as Paco from Bloodsport and fought Van Damme. This is the first guy I've ever seen do Muay Thai on TV. So all thanks to this guy, this is why I am here doing this today with you all. So, but anyway, my teacher in Muay Thai, I would say, would start off with Yuki being the first one, and then building from that, I met a guy named Tony Nguyen, who taught a Vietnamese style of martial art called Bao Trin, or Viet Y Vo Dao, Bao Trin. And Tony at the time, we crossed paths when I was, I think it was like just after my 8th grade graduation, going into 9th, 10th grade in high school. Junior high school time. And he would bring in guys like Danny Steele, who was a Muay Thai champion. I had no idea who this guy was, but he would bring this guy in, and he would just beat the piss out of us every Friday night. It was Fight Club Friday. And then also the actor Dustin Nguyen from the original 21 Jump Street, Johnny Depp. He would come in and kick our ass, and Tony and Dustin were good friends at the time. And so that was like my first time seeing Muay Thai, seeing kickboxing. Also one of the first times learning arm bars, and this was in the, I would say, late 90s, like 96, 97 era. So yeah, if I just kept up with jiu-jitsu then, I would have had like 5 black belts by now. But I've had this love and hate relationship. All my friends know, man, all my buddies did it. All my closest friends have cauliflower ears, scary looking guys, and yet they're like, when are you gonna do it? So finally, after having earned my blue belt with 3 different jiu-jitsu instructors, I'm like, I'm never quitting again. So I just got my my purple belt with the amazing the legend of all, Eric Paulson, who teaches catch-can wrestling. He teaches Shudo there at our gym, Japanese Shudo, and he trained guys like Josh Barnett, Brock Lesnar, Sean Shirk, and all those types of guys trained out of our gym. So thank you to Eric for taking me on as your student. I've always had Eric on my radar, always wanted to train with him, and moving back to Orange County kind of opened up that reality again. So I thought to myself, I had no excuse but to train over there. And sidebar, Eric helped with the initial John Wicks, from what I understand. Okay. He was brought and got a phone call from the guys that directed it, David Leach and Chad Stelsky, from what I understand. And he had a lot to do with the grappling section of that, and how Keanu ended up, all the cool jiu-jitsu, gun jitsu stuff. But yeah, man, Eric's an amazing man, and Eric is also part of the lineage of Jeet Kune Do of Danny Nasano. Okay. So that's how all this
still in the family
fits within the realm. And of course, being that Guru Danny Nasano not only is known for the Jeet Kune Do that Bruce Lee shared with him, but the Jung Fan Kung Fu, because Bruce Lee's Chinese name is Li Jung Fan, or Jung Fan. And so you have kind of the precursor to Jeet Kune Do, which was Jung Fan Kung Fu, which is more the Chinese system that he taught at the time, Chinese boxing. And then because Bruce was always flipping stones and he always cross-training and other things, he then realized, I need to personalize this for myself and make my own style, I guess, or his own concept, if you will, called Jeet Kune Do. It's kind of complicated.
Well, so even as you describe all the things and acknowledging my experience, like if I came up just street fighting and all the silliness that you do as a kid into a teen, and then grow up and then into Muay Thai, where my training is, and my reference of what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
When you start adding into your pot all these different, very specific, modalities of Jiu-Jitsu or, Jiu-Jitsu, outside of like an MMA sanctioned fight, where does your mind go when it jumps to like, I mean, what is that even when you're training? Like, oh, we're just training Muay Thai right now, so that's where you're like, you go into that little filing cabinet and you go, well, that's what I'm going to do. Like, how often is something accessible or something popping in and like, oh, this is actually when I would do, my wushu,
Yeah.
type thing. Like,
That's a good question. I find it interesting to come from that cross training background where even when I'm doing jujitsu, there's moments of like trapping. For instance, if a guy's baiting me to do something, and let's say I'm in his guard, I'll trap his hand differently, rather than punching here. Bang, you're not trying to hit the guy. Now you're just doing that. Now you're holding onto his arm.
yeah.
I can set up different attacks from here. So even just that little thing,
And that's permitted in there? Like, how quick you got there is up to you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much. Especially at our school, because Eric, Paulson, he's the that nucleus of cross training and such a proponent of that. And he comes from that background that a lot of that stuff is day one you can do. Even like heel hooks, it's day one. You can learn how to do a toe hold, heel hook, bulldog choke, all that stuff, wrist locks. It's all good in our gym all the time. And yeah, in Wing Chun, man, there's moments where, even just putting your hand there, and I don't have a huge Wing Chun background, but the stuff that I do is from the Inasano Academy. And even just like having that reference point, people will say, oh, Wing Chun will never work in a fight. No one ever walks up to you and goes, and goes like that, and then you trap and hit. But it's more or less like just feeling this guy pushing into you, you're like, oh, great. And there's your figure four, you can Kimura from there. You can do a lot of things from there. So you start to borrow things from other arts, and eventually you don't really know where it comes from.
You're not thinking about it.
No,
it's automatic.
It just goes into that.
Yeah.
And so I know I overheard a story from Dan Inasano where Ray Boom Boom Mancini, famous boxer, man, he was using his boxing in jiu-jitsu, and the way he would even slip punches, like let's say he was in the guard, the guy is trying to reach from, he would just move his head like a boxer, but he's doing it on the ground. Right. So again, there's that crossover. But I think a lot of the threading that happens within different arts, eventually you don't know what art you're in. You go from boxing range to kicking range, back to grappling range, back to trapping range where you can clinch, you can throw, you can submit from there. So that's kind of the idea, is to be the well-rounded pugilist.
Yeah.
You try to mix it all up.
Even on my journey with it, it's interesting because I felt like the hill to climb initially was learning the technicality of it, because I didn't want to do it wrong. So then to be so stuck in my head, and until I faced a guy that was so much bigger than me, like I think he's like 6'6".
Yeah.
And he's like, hey man, you're not gonna hurt me, just go for it. And I did that. I could actually get out of my head, access the information that I'd been training for a long time. Then it all became super visceral and very available. But then even then I would feel, knowing what the training was, I was like, in this moment I would actually do something different, not having been trained it, but just that like things just become a little more fluid and familiar. But it's exciting to see as I continue, because equally I would love to go. My brother is deep in jiu-jitsu now, and he got his blue belt. I'm very excited for him. Good job.
Yeah.
And so, but I know what it is to commit to that specific martial art, where you gotta commit. Because it's a little different than Muay Thai in the sense that, like, the handful of times that I've rolled, dude, it's just one pretzel after another.
Yeah.
And I am soaked because I'm so tense in every direction, just trying to.
We get a lot of good, like, collegiate high school wrestlers that are just young bucks. They're vital guys. They come in with 110% energy. And I'm in the over 40s club now. So for me, I start to use things differently. I don't try to muscle and try to outperform them, as an athlete in that way. So I use a lot of jiu-jitsu against wrestlers, and then against good jiu-jitsu people, you use wrestling. And that's kind of what we do at our gym, I've noticed, is as Eric Paulson always says, if you can touch it, you take it. So if there's a foot in front of you, you do things that is not common in jiu-jitsu. You do more catch wrestling. And I noticed that that's kind of how my game's developed. We use even things from Sambo, and it just goes and goes and goes. And there's so many different ways, and you go into the you cross over to the dark side and you're doing more wrist locks and stuff. That's kind of frowned upon in certain circles, but man, if you can touch it, you take it. You know, if it's a foot, if it's a wrist, if it's using the gi to choke them out. If you're doing no gi, then there's certain things you can still do.
What's
all the natural handles in the body?
Yeah. All of them?
Yeah.
So with that though, like, what is the common courtesy in martial arts, regardless of what it is you're doing? You know, you say wrist locks might be a little more frowned upon, but at what level are you training because you just like to be a good dancer and learn 5, 6, 7, 8 and learn all the moves versus like, oh no, I want to learn so I can fight for my life at a level where the intensity and like, oh, I'm doing this because it's available and that's where I want to know it.
Yeah. We occasionally get other guys that will come to visit our gym and they'll go real hard on, let's say, the white belt, and then I can see all the eyes, all the mat enforcers' eyes turn and look at this guy, and he might be a purple belt or what have you, and I'm like, oh man, this guy's gonna have a rough night, because he has now an entire team of people to fight, not just that one guy, so we watch for stuff like that, especially on the newer guys, and but I guess to answer your question, I now train of a sense of, I'm not training to win, I'm training to learn. And I want to be able to preserve myself as much as possible. I've already had knee injuries, from not tapping. So if you're new to jiu-jitsu, if you're thinking about engaging in any form of grappling arts, learn to tap early. You can always start from one again. It's not like you have some weird ego to fulfill, and there's no one is going to frown upon you if you tap, And so I learned to just tap and start again. It's always like, that's just the way. You're not filming.
Well, I think that's actually the answer that I didn't know I was looking for, is that like by being a student and learning and being comfortable in the space and checking the ego at the door, then it all is available and it'll be there when you need it. But ultimately, to have your body available for whatever that interaction would be, you got to make it there first.
Absolutely.
Assuming it ever came, but that makes a lot of sense. No, that's great.
Yeah, and that applies to Muay Thai, applies to boxing. If you go hard, they're gonna go hard. They're gonna answer back with that level that you give them. So I usually always start off really gentle. I don't try to outdo anybody straight away, and I just wait, and you become a good observer of it's like a good human chess game. You start to learn certain things, and you apply different things to different people. I've noticed, at least at this point in my journey, in this juncture, is okay, with that black belt that I'm going to be rolling with, I know what he's going to catch me with, so let me give him a hard time to get there, So you're always humble, and you're learning that humility even with the higher belts, and it's so good to just roll with as many brown and black belts as possible, and people that are very skilled as wrestlers. You get a guy that walks into your gym and he's a white belt, but he has cauliflower ears. You're like, you've wrestled for 15 years, all throughout college too, so learn as much as you can from that guy. Learn as many takedowns as you can, and get to your knees as fast as possible. Don't lay on your back long. So all those little things that, like, I wish I did wrestling in high school, and I never really did. I wrestled with my friends in the grass, but I never like high school wrestling or anything. So I'm now at that place in my life where I love it more than almost boxing and Muay Thai, and that's very weird for me to say. As I see it differently, and seeing guys like Tom Hardy and Mario Lopez. What's up, Mario? He's a good friend of mine now. We've connected over at Wildcard recently. So seeing him train, seeing him being this celebrity doing jiu-jitsu and really competing and doing it right, alongside people like Tom Hardy and all those guys. It's really inspiring, because it goes to show that even in your 50s, you can still train it, and you can train it at a high level. So, but yeah, to go back to training hard and always trying to go there to bang and to try to spar hard. I'm like, man, I'm done with that. I don't need to do that no more.
Yeah.
I like to spar. I spar often every week when I'm back home, but I don't find the interest in doing that anymore. I want to preserve. I've had a lot of concussions just being in the stunt business, and as a kid doing crazy stuff, and I just having a daughter now, I have to think about, I don't want to be that old decrepit guy that's like 50 something and barely move. Yeah, your fingers are like this. So even that, one of the black belts at our school, he's like an absolute badass. he one day asked me, he's like, why are you holding on to the gi so much? And I go, well, isn't like that how you like build your dexterity and your hand strength? He goes, no. He goes, and so I looked at his hands, and his hands weren't all messed up like all the other guys with tape around their fingers. And I asked him, how come your fingers aren't messed up? He goes, I just let go. I just don't hang on to the gi. I'm like, ding! I had this like epiphany of a moment, like, oh, you just go for another thing. You just you don't hang on for dear life. You know, you don't white knuckle it.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, man, of course.
Of course.
Why
Well,
are you doing that?
speaking of decrepit 50-something-year-old, you got some work with Mr. Tyson coming up?
Yeah, so
Explain that relationship and then go into...
oh man, so I had a meeting with Halle Berry over at Tyson Ranch one day.
As you do. Yeah, totally.
And-
Totally normal.
All good.
To jump us back in, we were just getting into your relationship and how
Yeah.
you were introduced to Mr. Mike Tyson.
So that was an interesting connection entirely in its own, because prior to meeting Mike, like years prior, I had for my bachelor party with my good buddy, we went out to Vegas, and it was just my good childhood friend, my brother-in-law Mike, and myself, and I just wanted to see Mike Tyson do his one-man show that he did at the time out in Vegas. And you know, he wasn't in shape then, he was just kind of just getting back to you know, the world as Mike Tyson is known today, and you know, the fitness and all that stuff. So I always thought, wow, man, like there he is on stage. You know, I'm kind of far away from him, but I can now see him with my own eyes. Like, what a dream come true, if you will. And I always told myself, that'd be really cool to meet that guy. So I just kind of manifested that, if as crazy as that sounds, you know, manifestation. But really, you think about something long enough, you know, you got to be careful, because it will come around and bite you in the ass.
Words are powerful.
Yeah, man. And so I fast forward. I've been training Halle Berry, and she's been a great friend of mine for nearly a decade now. And one day she goes, Pete, I'm going to go meet Mike tomorrow. And I said, oh, that's cool. Like, right on, like, Mike who? And she goes, oh, I'm going to go meet Mike Tyson. Remember we just talked about him the other day? And I'm like, wait, you actually have a meeting with Mike Tyson? She goes, yeah. Because, you know, at the time we were doing some stuff with Respin, which we had a little TV show called Fit Talks, Halle Berry and I, and we talked about, you know, lifestyle stuff, fitness, and just things that her fans wanted answers to. So we would answer the questions of her fans, and it was just somewhat very similar to this. And point is, she says she's meeting Mike, and I said, wow, that's so awesome, because Mike was doing stuff with the cannabis industry and CBD, and wanted to do, I think, some CBD infused bath bombs, like for the website. So, you know, we went over there to the Tyson Ranch in El Segundo, and we, you know, this is during COVID and stuff, and so we walk in.
Are you nervous? You're just super casual. You're like, what's up?
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is she had left like an hour earlier than anticipated. Like, I had a call time to show up, but she goes, oh my God, I forgot to tell you, we're actually meeting an hour earlier. So I was already late. So they were having this meeting in this giant Bruce Wayne looking like table, you know, and it was just, you know, everybody was there, and all these, you know, big wigs were in there. And so I walk in, man, with like this, again, this is when everyone was wearing masks. I had this Scorpion style, or yeah, it was a Scorpion Mortal Kombat looking mask that was made by my friend Save Moncachino, a designer. And he made me this awesome mask, so I happen to have that in my coat pockets. I put it on, I walk in, and Mike is sitting in this little swivel chair, and you can clearly, of course, you know, see his head, and he spins around like that, and he just goes, oh man, how you doing, brother? Oh man, and you know, he's like, I thought you were some school shooter. I thought you were gonna shoot me or something. You came in here like one of those crazy guys. Man, you look crazy with that mask. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, here he is. The whole room turns around and looks at me. And I'm like, I can't believe Mike Tyson just thought I was gonna come in here to shoot up the place like some crazy villain out of a movie. He's like, yeah, your mask is so cool. You look like one of those Mortal Kombat guys. And I'm like, oh man, I said, hey, nice to meet you, Mike, and that was kind of the pivotal moment for me. Like, wow, I can't believe here I am now, you know, seeing him on a stage, watching all of his fights growing up. You know, my family was really big into boxing and martial arts, so that's what we did. We didn't watch football or baseball or anything. We watched boxing. We watched the Olympics and things like that. So point is, there he is, and this was right around the time he was getting back into training shape to fight Roy Jones Jr. So as we're having this meeting, he gets up and leaves. And, mind you, Mike is wearing like a big t-shirt. He's wearing his underwear like he always does to train in. And he's wearing his iconic black leather handmade boots. And just, I couldn't stop staring at the shoes. I'm like, there are the boots. There they are, man. I wanted to see like those things up in personal, because I was curious who made them.
Yeah.
I just love how they look. And I'm like, I need a new pair of black leather boxing boots. They're very Jack Dempsey-ish. So anyway, to trail back onto the point, Hallie and I look at each other and we hear Mike screaming in the other room. We look at each other and the meeting is like finally coming to an end, and we get up like, can we go watch Mike? Like, is he gonna go train right now? And they're like, I think so. We get up, we go over there, and sure enough, he's strapped up to these like electrodes. He looked like Weapon X Wolverine. He was just going, ah! And there's this guy that was just zapping him. This guy Brad, and Mike would call him the electrician. So he just would zap him. So that way, because Mike's had a lot of back injuries from all the wear and tear throughout the years of training. The custody model style, or known as the peekaboo style, is very demanding in the back. It's not this, but it's more this. So you're doing this just outside of the person's shoulder, and so he needs that in order to be able to train like he did. And so it just kind of wakes him up. It wakes up his muscles, and it puts blood into the areas that needs to be put in. Not to go into that too much because I'm no medical doctor or professional, but apparently it works. And he's doing that now currently for this Jake Paul fight.
Has he got Brad back, the electrician?
He has another team, I think, working with him because he's out. The camp is happening, as everybody's well aware now, and it's a serious thing. It's happening.
Well, so all right, not to jump ahead, but we're talking about which Paul is it?
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul,
Yeah.
and they're gonna box. That's coming up.
Yeah,
and it's real.
Yeah, from what I've been told, that this is a real thing, and there's even Mike quoting it like, if all you people think that I'm just getting paid to take a dive, then pretty much you want to, take a seat and just watch the show. I personally think, it's amazing to see Mike still be able to perform and do the things that he's doing. As a fan of boxing, as a fan of him, I'm happy to see him put on a display for everybody to see. And people will say what they want, but at the end of the day, man, he's providing for his family. He's providing for his children's children when he's no longer here anymore. And I think that's something to be said. And fighters, whether it's Peter Aerts back in the K1 style days, or Randy Couture, whoever, they're still fighting in the later years in their life because fighters don't know how to put that away sometimes. That adrenaline, that thing that gives you purpose is really what's important to them. Regardless of how your body may feel, you still have that passion inside. And I find that beautiful. You have irreversible damage. It's like, why do stunt guys still want to perform even though they're battered? They've been hit by cars 100 times. Like, why do they still want to do the things they do? It's because it gives them that purpose. It gives them something to, they can explore themselves deeper and further versus just, sitting around vegging out. It's like, activity fuels more activity, and whether it hurts or not, it's going to hurt anyway. So you just might as well kind of, until the wheels fall off, man. It's that David Goggins effect. Why does that guy still do 100-mile runs?
Why does that guy do anything?
Why does he still do It's falling apart?
Yeah.
But it's because it's pushing that boundary, and it's all in here, man. And not to get ahead, but yes, this fight is going to happen. They may unearth the old Mike Tyson, which I, from seeing his videos recently, I can say, man, he's going to bring it. He's going to bring it 100%.
Well, and then you'll wrap the show here. You'll get to set in about
Yeah.
an hour and 29 minutes.
I'll be to set soon, and then
And today will be the last day, and then you're out.
Today will be the last day.
Okay.
Tomorrow I fly back home to California, and then I'll spend some time with the family, and then I'm going to take a road trip to Vegas to see everybody. To see Billy White, who's his childhood
That's who we
friend.
met at the.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Billy
that's
White's the guy
cool.
you met. Billy White is my father figure in my life. He's happens to be Mike Tyson's trainer, and he was there the day Mike Tyson walked into the gym for the first time in Catskills, New York, because Billy was already fighting under Castellano, him and his brother, and Mike walked in, from the correctional facility that he was at. Under Bobby Stewart, and Billy remembers that day very vividly. And yeah, here we are. Fast forward, Billy's now training him and got him prepared for the Roy Jones fight. And now this, and then possibly, who knows, man? Maybe Holyfield next, Holyfield Tyson Part 3. I think that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So Billy took me under his wing. He trained me in the style, the custody model style, which is, I could count 3 people on this one hand that have the ability to teach it and to teach it with authenticity, because there's a lot of people on the internet that will watch a couple of Tyson fights or Tyson training, and then they'll say, come by my course this weekend because now I teach the custody model style. Again, you kind of see this happen a lot within the Jeet Kune Do Bruce Lee world, where there's the Jung Fan, Gong Fu people, the Jeet Kune Do people. There's a lot of political involvement within the world of boxing and martial arts, and I just look at it like, man, the proof in the pudding. Are you getting it from an authentic source?
Mhm.
Can you teach it? Can you teach it from the source? Can it be traced back to the lineage? That to me is most important. There's a lot of people that are selling stuff and claiming, putting a stamp on it, saying that this is, the gospel truth, which is just not true. And I don't want to bash those people. I'm happy that they're bringing awareness to that style of boxing, but you also can redirect people and oftentimes even hurt people because they're doing something wrong because it's not taught properly. There's a lot of holes in the game.
Right.
It's like being a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and then I'm opening up a school down the street now, and I'm teaching people how to do stuff wrong. It's just, that to me is not okay. I couldn't live with myself knowing that that's how I'm, presenting this beautiful art form.
So you've never considered offering or opening up?
Billy and I, we've talked about doing that. We're kind of in the space of opening up a possible gym in the near future. We definitely have
West Coast or down in Miami?
It'll probably be either down in the East Coast first, Florida,
Hey.
Palm Beach area maybe,
Okay.
because that's where the training normally takes place, and Billy's down that way, so it's very possible. You can keep updated on our Instagram and our website being built. It's called Confidence of Champions, and that's because Billy told me that's what Cuss gave him and gave his brother and gave the fighters there at the time in the 70s and 80s and onwards. Cuss gave them the confidence of a champion, just through the way he thought. It was 80% mental, 20% physical. Cuss would have them go see a guy named Dr. Mark Halpin, who was a guy that helped the fighters that lived there at the house with Cuss, and he got deep. He got real deep, and he hypnotized them to make them believe that they already won this fight. So it was essentially mindfulness and manifestation way before it was even trendy and cool. It was this thing that he did, which was very rare at the time, and now athletes all around the world do this kind of stuff. So that's fascinating. Simultaneously, I'm helping produce a documentary about custody model and Mike, and we have recently had the interest of Peter Berg, who saw this concept through Ryan Travis, the director, and Keith Black. We're the team that's gonna unearth this untold triumph of custody model. I had this wild hair up my ass one day, and I'm like asking Billy, "Hey Billy, has there ever been like a custody model documentary? Like kind of the Ip Man Bruce Lee connection. Like, who was the trainer of Bruce Lee? Like that to me is fascinating.
Yeah.
I want to know more about this. There was a couple of little like YouTube fan film tributes out there of cuffs, but that's about it. There was nothing profound and solid and concrete. So I'm like, we have to do this. I'm not gonna rest my eyes, on this earth until this is done. So I'll do whatever it takes.
What a story to tell, yeah.
And here we are, man. I just saw a 90-minute, rough cut of it, and it is.
Oh, okay, so it's far along in production. It's been shot.
I got to interview people from Mike's childhood, the guy that discovered Mike for the first time and brought him over to Custody Motto,
Mm-hmm.
a guy named Bobby Stewart. I get to interview that guy. I mean, just the hairs on my arms stood up, man. It was unbelievable. Got to interview guys like Chuck Zito, who's known Mike for a long time, who's been around, and just a bunch of people from the Catskills gym that were there at the time, and that's exciting to me, is to as a storyteller to explain how this guy was created. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't just here's some gloves, here's the bag, and you're physically you're a giant of a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid. You got the attributes and the strength and yes, all that obviously helps, and it will help bring forth this legacy of Mike Tyson, but it has to start from here and from here. Like, who is that guy that tapped into Mike? And there's been many interviews with Mike over the years where everybody is friendly with Mike Tyson. Everybody is afraid of Mike Tyson, but there's only one person that can get to Mike Tyson and that understands him and is really, truly, genuinely there for Mike Tyson, and that's Custody Motto.
Mm. When you did the interviews with all those folks, one as a storyteller, your time in Hollywood and the business as it is, but then two as like a fan growing up, with the Olympics and the boxing, all that. Are you, in there just like giddy with excitement, like a million questions, but you you got to stay framed into let's just talk. Like, how did you navigate that?
I think interviewing Billy was the hardest for me because, again, he's like my father figure, and seeing how emotionally he gets when we talk about cuss, very much how when Mike talks about cuss, you can't do an interview without crying. I can see just by that alone how profound of an effect this man had on these guys, that really didn't have much, especially in the sleepy town of Catskills, New York. But yeah, it's hard not to go on a million different tangents and trying to find this this parallel world where you have this linear path to and fro, a question like, what's the most direct path? How can I bridge this gap and not ask something that's gonna be the wrong thing to ask, or so you're very careful on that, and it's a very delicate subject, but I guess really is you kind of somewhat have to stick to the script, but there's oftentimes you take the script and you throw it behind you, and I've had to do that where I'm like, this is not going to work, because they will then open up a door, and then you can begin this conversation. It becomes more meaningful and deep and impactful. And seeing Billy get to a very emotional place was hard for me, and made me cry. I had to take a break and walk away. So it's going to be something that we're chipping into. We have to interview Mike now, and I thought, what better of a time to interview this guy than now, where he actually has a camp. He's training again.
So you want to do it before the fight?
So we're going to interview him up until the fight, and kind of get some footage. So that's why I'll be to Vegas to work on the documentary, and to also just be of any service, be of any help, whether it's to put water on his head like I did last time, or to give him some water, or to put gloves on him, or whatever Billy may have me do. I just want to be there of service again, and to help out in camp, and just to see that as I'm often asked, what is it like seeing Mike or talking to Mike? How is he? Like, what do you feel? What goes on in your mind? And I guess the best way of putting it, especially when he's standing behind you and you just feel him there. It's almost like a mythical creature behind you. Even the way he breathes, it's like you have this. I mean, he really is, man. Alexander the Great reincarnated. He's a warrior.
He's a freight engine.
He is clearly the physicality, and when you see him, when he looks into you, he looks into your soul. When he shakes your hand and whatever else may be, it's like you see that, but then you also go deeper and you see Mike Tyson, the father. You see him with his kids. You see him as the entrepreneur, as the actor. I mean, again, he's the consummate artist, and it's just been an honor and privilege to get to know him over the past couple of years. And thanks to Billy White for making all that happen, and thanks to Halle Berry, of course, for bringing me along on the journey. But yeah, it's been great, man, and I think the fans are going to be definitely not disappointed. I think this is going to be. It is the first time Netflix is doing anything like this, so that's exciting in itself, and it's going to make history. They're going to break the internet with this. Yeah.
Well, congratulations to that.
Thanks.
I am equally going to be putting it out into the universe as a great success.
Yeah.
And with the people involved, I don't see how it wouldn't be, because in the brief time I've known you, you're a perfect man for the job, and it wouldn't make sense if it didn't work, but it's exciting. Yeah. Wait, where are we at in our time? All right, 8 minutes. We're getting down there.
Even if we go 10, 15 minutes over, I'll figure it out. Oh, no.
If I learned anything being on set for those few days, I think you got time.
Yeah.
No, we'll keep it honest. So, did you get to spend some time in the ring at all with Mike? Are you holding pads, or are you just in support of?
Mainly in support of. I'm not able to really, discuss too many details, especially with
Sure.
Per Billy's request as of last night. Don't talk about anything.
Yeah.
It's very, very secretive and classified information. But more importantly, it's going to be a wonderful experience for me to yet see what goes on behind those closed doors and to witness, Mike training and going, more importantly, going back to the style. Having Billy there as Cuss's disciple and a guy that has been there since day one, seeing Mike go back to that style and not be pulled away and quartered in 500 different directions, that to me is refreshing and beautiful to watch, because it's like, yeah, there's so many different styles of boxing, but styles make fights. And Mike's style is what makes this so exciting, on top of his physicalities, yes, and his, amazing abilities, but more so it's the style. It's a very exhausting style. It's very aggressive and pressure and moving forward. It's unique in the sense of you got a really tight D, your chin is down, your hands are up tight. And it also, many times, it can be a very squared off stance. So you have equal power in your left hand and your right hand. And I think even Boss Root talks about that he adopted his style of fighting because watching Mike in that stance. And it's because you can have knockout power in your left and your right hand. Just kind of cool. And there's moves, as we call them moves when we train them. Cuss called them, we're doing the moves today, or on Fridays it'd be Form Friday. And I literally just have a guy put on the glove, man, and throw jabs at your face. That's all it is. And you just make those jabs miss, spring to the side, you twist. All of a sudden, now you become the bull and the matador. You're disappearing constantly, and the person has to turn into you. So it's a really explosive style. It's exciting to watch, and it is. It's just, it's something that I have never seen be done well, other than maybe like Roberto Duran. And in fact, Billy and Mike call that the Duran, the twist move, where he's doing this big twist move because, Mike does the Duran better than Duran. So. But yeah, man, you make them miss, you make them pay. That's how it is, and doing it in an exciting fashion, because fighters have to be intelligent, but they also have to be exciting because it's a performance. You have to put on the show. You got to put asses in seats.
Well, I don't doubt they're gonna have a problem with this.
Yeah.
I won't claim to know anything more than I do, but
is Jake Paul dangerous? Of course. He's
a big boy, isn't he?
He's a big guy. He's technical. He is.
The amount of money he's had to spend on training and just do it nonstop, you're gonna get good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You put your whole life in essence into something, you're gonna get good at it.
Yeah.
If you think about that all day long, if you train about it, if you go into a real training camp, you're going to get really good. And I think that it's going to be an exciting fight. It's very contrasting in styles. So yeah, people are going to get their money's worth, that's for sure. And anything to see Mike perform again, for me as a fan, is just that's exciting.
Yeah.
And I love to see it.
Well, so jumping back to the documentary, that's another side of the world that I live in as well. I've done a few documentaries to differing results. But do you see with what you've been able to create, what's your role in the project? You're producing,
Yeah, I'm producing.
Okay.
And I'm in there a couple times being interviewed and also training with a girl named Cecilia Brakhus from Norway. She's one of the best female boxers in the world, if not the best in my opinion. She's the first lady for a reason. That's her fight name. And I had some amazing opportunities with Tom Loeffler, who's her manager, who also manages Triple G, and a bunch of other great fighters like Callum Walsh. But Tom and Cecilia, they asked me to train her, and I was her conditioning coach. I also brought Billy in to help teach her the style. She's from the Croc gym, so she has a different style. But we were able to showcase her training in that style on this documentary, which is really cool. To see how could this style help a fighter that already has done everything, has all the accolades, but just how to move your head differently, how to move to the side differently. Even Mickey Ward, I had the opportunity to interview Irish Mickey Ward, and he's like, man, like, if I knew this style, I would have still been boxing today, rather than taking the punishment, because the idea is to not get hit.
Yeah.
It's to hit and not, and that's what Cuss said, is when you can hit and not get hit, boxing is fun. Like, who the hell says that, man? Who says that hitting and not getting hitting will then in turn make boxing fun? Because then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about getting tagged.
Yeah.
So you disappear and you're like essentially the ghost. You're gone, man.
Well, even when I was jumping into Muay Thai, knowing, like, I've had any number of concussions and wrecks, and I broke my skull and it hemorrhaged and brain swelling, the whole gamut. So to know that I don't want to get rocked in the face all the time is a big deal. But then equally between that and Muay Thai, or Jiu-Jitsu rather, with a lot of the fighting we do on camera and just proximity to a gym and a buddy I had running it, I was like, all right, I'm going to do Muay Thai. But it's been such a hoot, and it is not getting hits much more fun than getting hit.
Yeah. Even my Muay Thai trainer, Master Chai, Ajahn Sirichai Sirisu, or Master Chai as he's known, he brought Muay Thai to America in 1968. He's the first person to ever do that. Prior to 1968, Muay Thai was not even known in America, other than if you travel to Thailand. But he was very aware of the importance of boxing and Muay Thai. And he would have us train just boxing drills, stuff that he learned from certain people in his past when he first came to the States. And he actually picked up a lot of cool boxing, if I recall this story correctly, from some Mexican boxers back in the day, back in the 60s, early 70s. And he was even brought on as the Dallas Cowboys conditioning coach for, I think, 7 years. And the Dallas Cowboys at the time were kicking ass. And it was because they were cross-training Thai boxing. So very fascinating stuff.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt. I asked you specifically about your role in the film as producer because I was thinking, after you finish this project, are you going to want to create another story, and is it Master Chi or Chai?
Yeah.
Man,
again, I think that's brilliant. I haven't even thought of that, actually.
He's the first guy bringing in Muay Thai to America.
That's a
great story to be told.
That is a great story, actually. That is another untold triumph. And I'm going to definitely...
I'll just take a couple points on
that. I'm going to send him the residuals and whatnot. But yeah, I get a good percentage. But that would be a fascinating story, because there's so many of these people all around us.
Yeah.
Could be your neighbor, could be the guy you meet down the street at the coffee shop. And they have this, this just amazing ability to to still be able to be here today, but yet have all this mileage when it comes to a story that nobody knows about. Like that needs to be told, and that's exciting. And I think people are searching for content like that today. More people are searching for authenticity because in a world of fakery, of LARPing, of whatever you want to call it. I mean, you got fake grass, you got fake people, you got fake
AI,
you got fake everything, and it's like there's still, I think, a market, and there's something to be said for having a real conversation with real people and having this go on. That's cool, man.
Well, I've been excited to. So if somebody were to ask me, Sam, what's your story, your show about? And I go, or even you, like, Sam, what are we going to talk about? I go, I don't know you, because I truly do think that every person has a story, and even if they're full of shit, once you get past that and talk to the real person and find out who they really are, that's where you'll find some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And so whenever I have an individual on, I could sit here and research you all day and find any like, all right, then you went to this high school and you had these kind of accolades, and like we could talk about all that random stuff. But I feel, or at least in my experience, it's been fun just to, with a little information about who you are, get into what you want to talk about, and it leads to these great conversations, and I'm super grateful to have you.
Thank you.
And super grateful for you to share, and even more excited for what we're going to get into in the future. I think you got a bright future.
Thank you.
And we didn't even talk about your daughter. Isn't she rolling? She choking out kids over?
She's 4, and I'm already having her do drills back home in the garage.
I'm sure.
On the little grappling dummy, I'm showing her how to do arm bars, how to do rear naked chokes, and she's getting into it.
She's got a great coach. What can we say?
We got the Motion Master also for, like, I have the adult version, and then we have a small little version. And the Motion Master is developed by my coach, Eric Paulson, and it looks kind of like an alligator. There's like little nubs, and so Rev Gear, I believe it's Rev Gear that produced it, but it's Eric's design, and it's so cool because you can ground and pound this thing. You can get in the positions, be on the belly, you can get the side control, you can work the helicopter drills. I mean, it's like the sky's the limit with that thing, and it's really cool. So check out the Motion Master.
Hey, and so today's episode brought to you by Motion Master. You can find it, Eric Paulson's design, over on whatever page. And usually at the end of the show, similar to this, here's your chance. You can talk to your friends, your family, your fans, and let them know what's going on and where to find you.
Oh yeah, you can find me on Instagram under Peter Lee Thomas. I'm working on getting some YouTube stuff out. I'm long overdue. Facebook, Peter Lee Thomas, same thing. Email and phone number that I'll charge for that. But yeah, check out Confidence of Champions as well to see what Billy and I have going on in the future, and you'll be able to get updates there and on my social media about our documentary that we're doing. As far as what else? Oh, pain. Everybody has pain, or somebody that has some sort of arthritis, pain, or you work with your hands a lot, or you train martial arts. Speaking about Muay Thai, my good brother and I, Aaron, he's from England. He's a Muay Thai trainer, ex-Muay Thai fighter. He trains Chris Cyborg and a bunch of other fighters. But Aaron and I decided to go into business together on a product that was already in development. So if you're a Muay Thai fighter or you train in Thailand, you're going to know about a product called Nalan Muay, which is that yellow liniment that all the fighters and boxers rub on their body. And it's a very particular smell. It's like Tiger Balm but on steroids.
Okay.
So it's very hard to get. It's hard to get it from Thailand over here, especially the big bottles. So Aaron and I decided let's make it here in the U.S. It's made by one athlete for all athletes, and it is amazing the fact that we were able to formulate this, but yet supercharge it and add in arnica, add in turmeric, so it gives it this yellow color, and these things are flying off the shelves. So it's about like 8 years in the making to get this batch rolling. So here we are. I finally got the first batch. So check out 3 Leopard Liniment on Instagram, and get some for your gym and for your loved one, whoever works with their hands especially, or somebody that is mechanic or works on motorcycles. It's really good for inflammation. Just rub it on and good to go.
Well, I will throw all those links in the description, bios, and all the things.
Cool.
And when I cut this together to share it, we'll do like a collab share post and
Right
it'll
on.
go out to all the masses. But that's it, man. You did it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate
I
it.
actually have this is Alan's table.
Wow. I was gonna say, who's amazing table
Yeah,
and the
Al.
little corked leather thing.
Yeah, this is like the Allen side of office, and this is the Sam side.
Yeah, but I got a marker. We have all the guests sign it.
Oh, that is epic, man.
So hop on up.
Yeah.
Wherever you want. There's no wrong place, no wrong size. Whatever feels good to you.
Oh, there was one thing I was going to talk about. I forgot about this film I worked on. I played this assassin, but that's okay, man. Next time.
You're talking about it right now.
Oh, no way.
We're
We're
still
still-
going,
Oh,
Yeah. Get into it.
Before I signed my life book on this table
Yeah.
here, I was going to say, because we were just talking about Jackie Chan the other day, and if anyone loves Hong Kong style action, I was asked to work on a film called Accident Man: Hitman's Holiday, which is the sequel. It's part 2, with starring Scott Adkins, of course. And Scott Adkins asked me to be one of the main assassins that is in the film. So if you get the urge to watch some really cool, like a homage to the Jackie Chan style action, check it out. It's hilarious. It's like John Wick meets Monty Python, if you will. And it has that Brit humor to it, of course, but
Oh, I'm
it's
in.
awesome fight scenes. Check out Scott Adkins, of course. Check out Andy Long, who plays one of the assassins. He's on Jackie Chan's team. An amazing performer and action guy. So check us out. And of course, Sarah Chang, who I got to fight on there. She's the best. So let me know if you like the movie. All right. Here we go. We're going to sign away.
All right. Oh, that's great. And don't smear it. It's easy to smear.
Ooh.
Just letting you know.
There we are, man. Voila. I didn't realize how big it was. Thank
Sir?
you, brother. You're the
No,
best,
that was
man.
it. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Glad we got a chance to work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, this guy. You should have saw his fight scene over there at the balcony. Wait till you see that.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Coming soon.
I literally was in the ring and I was just looking up, watching his fight, going, "Yes, here it goes."
I didn't win.
It was good.
Yeah. But that was it. What do you
Yeah,
think?
man? That was fun.
Stop.